I'm so indestructible, it gets me high, man. Nobody can defeat me. Chicks love me. I'm gonna live forever. I just come to the realization that I'm God.
Hold my facehugger.
A lot of people have asked facehugger questions. If you guys don't know what a facehugger is, there you go. Basically, these things, or their queen, kind of hard to figure it out sometimes, lay these disgusting eggs with things growing inside of them that look like hands with tails on the ends of them, that have mouths that look like girly parts, that boy parts come out of. The walking hand monster latches onto a human's face or whatever it wants to throat rape, and then shoves its boy parts down the thing's gullet so that it can piss out an egg into that person. Let's say the person is you. The egg that it pissed out then hatches into a baby alien that ends up eating its way through your body and bursts through your chest, killing you in the process. There you go. Oh, and if you try to kill it, that's providing you don't pass out, because usually it's a freaking anesthetic and paralyzing agent. It bleeds highly corrosive acid, so you'll probably end up dying anyway. Yep.
Did you call your mother today?
To Godzilla, he could probably squish these things and it would just become a rash under his feet, but what if he made a facehugger big enough to really hug his face into oblivion? Would Godzilla be doomed to have his chest burst open? Well, here are several things that would happen. The facehugger thing would have to be large enough to even fit on Godzilla's face. Also, it would have to get to his face either when he's sleeping or before he can bust open his jaws to spew atomic breath onto it, which would then turn it into a pile of ash. It would need to be strong enough to hold onto Godzilla, which it probably would because Godzilla's arms might not be long and strong enough to even tear it off once it gets its disgusting bony finger things wrapped around his head. It would also need some heavy sedative that can actually take set in Godzilla's body, which is an internal nuclear furnace. So let's say that we do have a facehugger and it's large enough and it happens to bypass Godzilla's river of nuclear radiation. Let's just say it forcefully deep throats Godzilla against his will. Unfortunately, Godzilla cannot knock it off of his face. Somehow, the appendage that is now inside Godzilla's throat leading into his stomach is immune to the harmful effects of his nuclear radiation. It successfully lays an egg that will eat Godzilla's insides and scoop its way onto the outside of Godzilla. It would have to be pretty powerful because Godzilla is very thick. If it has little piercy things, I'm sure it'll be able to manage. Godzilla just lies there because the anesthetic probably isn't strong enough to knock him all the way out, but I can imagine it wouldn't feel very comfortable for you having this thing shoved inside of you, but you're still able to breathe. That's what it would be like to Godzilla. Also, with creatures or beings that have hyper regenerative ability or just like regeneration 10 times what we have, sedatives and anesthetics don't really work because their turnover rate with their cells or something about that just keeps altering or becoming new again, just causes them to not get drunk or to become sedated, which I know is inconsistent in the Godzilla drama that I did recently. That was a special radiation cocktail. Anyway, finally, this thing drops off and curls up like a dead spider beside Godzilla with its legs all folded in, and I goddamn hate when spiders look like that, Jesus Christ. Ugh. Godzilla walks around and steps on the thing in defiance and whips it away with his tail and then goes about his merry way with just an itch on his foot from the acid. Later, he's talking to his favorite female and then starts belching in her face. Oops, he has indigestion, it seems. This turns off the female and she runs away because what she detects is that there's something else inside Godzilla, which must mean that he's pregnant, which must mean that he's not really a male, it's a trap. Godzilla really doesn't feel good and he can literally feel something growing in size within his chest cavity. He starts to feel shortness of breath because something is taking up his insides, and then suddenly, the immense, uncomfortable sensation of intense pain, something bursts through Godzilla's chest, spilling his blood and radiation liquid all over the place. Godzilla roars in agony, and for a moment he forgets how to move. As this thing crawls from out of him in his pain-stricken rage, Godzilla reaches down to try and bite it, but it gets away. His chest is wide open, and he falls to the floor, dying. Just kidding. Hours later, he's regenerated and he's fine again. He's still kind of woozy and he's going to need more radiation to fix himself up all the way, but not before he finds the son of a bitch that did this to him. He sees one of the random kaiju on the way and kills and eats them for their radiated insides. Delicious barbecued nuclear energy. And then he tracks down the monster. By the time Godzilla finds him, he sees a much bigger and way more intimidating version of himself that looks like a living manifestation of Satan's worst shits. I just didn't have the time to draw this, but I tried to find an artist rendition which was close to what I would have done, and this is what I found. I don't know if this is the original artist because this picture was all over the internet and a whole bunch of different sites, or many are claiming it to be theirs, but the signature is on there, so I'm guessing so. Oh well. But this is what Godzilla sees. And to make matters more entertaining, the creature has longer arms and also has the atomic ability Godzilla has. Godzilla wastes no time spewing atomic breath into the creature, but it does no damage. The Xenozilla, or Xenomorph, whatever the hell we're calling this thing, returns the favor and Godzilla gets a dose of his own power to the face. This really doesn't do anything to him except make him feel more charged up. He realizes that there is a stalemate if they both use the atomic ability, so Godzilla goes in for a melee attack. He bites down on the neck of Xenozilla and gets a mouthful of the most corrosive substance he's ever tasted. Somehow taking it to the face really doesn't feel that good. But it doesn't affect him that much, because let's face it, he's fought all manner of kaiju with different abilities, especially those with some special defenses, not to mention their own radiation. While it is corrosive, Godzilla also has his regenerative ability and much thicker hide and thicker tissue that takes quite a while for the acid to eat through. And by the time the alien acid does eat through, it's still in the top layer of Godzilla's tissue and basically does almost no damage to Godzilla. Godzilla continues chomping through its neck, hoping to bite its whole face off, but unfortunately, Godzilla forgot about its little inner mouth that looks like a man's flesh sword with teeth. It shoots right through Godzilla's gills, and this makes Godzilla holler in pain. It then uses its long arms with sharp claws on the ends to slash at Godzilla mercilessly. It kicks Godzilla with its foot, and Godzilla falls backwards. Godzilla spews atomic breath, and it does nothing to Xenomorph. This thing is Godzilla, but bigger and more fearsome and a much more suited killing machine. Godzilla gets up and his opponent headbutts him back onto the ground. Godzilla uses his mighty tail to swipe the creature's feet from out under it. What he didn't account for was the creature's own tail, which not only is just as strong as Godzilla's, but more powerful, and also complete with a sharp knife-like tip at the end, which it then uses to drive straight up Godzilla's stomach. Godzilla roars and shrieks and howls. The creature uses his opportunity to shove the end of the tail right through Godzilla's throat and then pulls it back from out of his mouth. And you see a whole bunch of flesh and piece of his tongue hanging off the tip of it. This is Godzilla's worst nightmare, and apparently ours too, because it's freaking morbid, dude. But the poor G-Man can't believe that he's going to be killed by the thing that basically forced itself on him, impregnated him, and then assaulted him in reverse by forcing its way out of him. And that now looks like him, but much bigger and scarier. This is horrible. Never missing a beat, the creature uses its tongue, mouth, tooth thing to rip into Godzilla's wounds, and Godzilla starts to pass out and vomit blood until suddenly the assault stops. Xenozilla shrieks, and it's a sound that Godzilla's never heard from that thing before. When he looks up at the creature, it has this big old white thing sticking out of it from the side of its head. Looks very suggestive at first, but then Godzilla realizes the white thing is going straight through the head of the creature and is attached to another big thing. It's the mammoth dude, Methuselah, the handicapped mammoth with derpy hands and no trunk. His horn sliced right through the head of the creature, and with one quick tilt of his head to the left, the top part of the alien Godzilla's head comes straight off. Godzilla uses this opportunity to get to his feet and tear into the monster. Acid sprays everywhere, and Behemoth's tusks actually start falling off due to them being eaten through by the corrosive acid. Some of the spray catches Behemoth's fur and eats him down to the bone. He hollers and runs away, trying to roll into the ground while Godzilla unleashes his rage onto the now dead Xenozilla. To make sure the job is done, Godzilla takes his colossal foot and crushes the creature's head to a complete birthday cake. That felt so freaking satisfying. Now, you're probably wondering what would have happened if Behemoth had not walked onto the scene. Godzilla, would probably die. I know people don't like hearing that, but it's the truth. You need to get used to hearing it. You need to get used to reality, even though this isn't reality, but in reality, you know what? In the fantasy world, Godzilla would try to find a way, and he would, or the humans would help him, or maybe this would happen. But realistically, if Godzilla was a creature that could actually realistically exist, anytime a xenomorph takes over another creature, no matter what it is or how big it is, it always ends up being a better and more powerful assailant than the host it reproduced from. Take the classic drone xenomorph XX121. They reproduce using human hosts, and they come out taller than us, much stronger than us, much faster, and in many more ways intelligent, because they're basically like biomechanic things. Take any host that they reproduce from. They always come out bigger and more powerful and scarier, and they have acid from blood, every single one of them, and they usually take on some of the features from their host. If Muto Prime, another big kaiju monster, could accomplish this method of breeding and killing off a lot of Godzilla's family by shoving her ovipositors into their stomachs and having their embryos sucking the life from out of them from the inside, it's not too hard to imagine that a xenomorph would have the same success, almost. After all, the xenomorph reproduction method is very similar to that, with the exception of Godzilla's kind possibly being able to live through their chest being bursted open, but the odds are not in their favor if they're put up against a xenomorph version of themselves. Now, if Godzilla walked away from the fight after having the thing burst from out of him, he would definitely live. Okay, I can't say definitely, but most likely he would. He's been dropped from out of the freaking sky before, so we're talking about Monster vs. Godzilla, by the way. However, eventually these things would take over all the kaiju on the planet, and they would end up killing Godzilla anyway to protect their nest. That would make for a very interesting movie or crossover. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.